Another heavenly day. It was only a year or so before his time spent in Folkestone that Beckett had bought his first car, a Citroën Dechevaux. An ugly, sluggish beast was how he once lovingly described his 2CV, an uninspiring vehicle, but useful. William Harvey, discoverer of the circulation of the blood, born in Folkestone, April the 1st, 1578, died in London, June the 3rd, 1657, buried at Hampstead, Essex. Beckett first wrote of Harvey in his first separately published work, the poem Horoscope, spelt W-H-O-R-O, which he entered for a competition in 1920. Nancy Cunard, the shipping heiress, was offering £10 for the best poem under 100 lines. And through the night before the deadline he wrote the poem on paper from Hotel Bristol, Carcassonne, in the Roussillon, southern France. This, of course, is not the Hotel Bristol, where Beckett stayed in 1961 in Folkestone. It is the Hotel Clifton, and situated really only a few blocks from where the Hotel Bristol was on the Leas, number 3 and 4. But it has exactly the same outlook, high on the cliff over the English Channel, looking out to France.
Son coule plus calme dans la ville de Harvey. Making sure not to identify his location, Samuel Beckett wrote this cryptic message on a postcard from Folkestone in March 1961 to his friend, the painter Avigdor Arica, back in Paris. Blood flows more calmly in the town of Harvey. William Harvey, the discoverer of blood circulation, was born in Folkestone. Beckett had referred to Harvey in his first published poem, Horoscope, 30 years earlier in 1930, where he is called Dear Blood-Swirling Harvey. The Irish writer Samuel Barclay Beckett was a man who enjoyed his own company. Many of his characters in his prose and drama are solitary figures who both talk and listen to themselves, and many of his characters avoid being seen or watched, mirroring the fact that Beckett himself was a reluctant subject for photographers. The camera is an unwelcome doppelganger. Beckett explored this tension in his only film, called Film, which he wrote, only 2 years after his stay in Folkestone, in 1963. In this silent black and white picture, the protagonist, played by the silent movie star Buster Keaton, does everything to avoid being perceived by people, animals, images, and the pursuing eye of the camera, only to realise that what cannot be evaded is self-perception. This paranoia of being watched is also evident in Beckett's first play for television, A. Joe, in which the TV camera closely observes the ageing adulterer Joe, sitting alone in a room while a voice of conscience speaks to him. Beckett's longtime partner, Suzanne Dechevaux-Dumesnil, was a loyal, loving and supportive friend, both personally and professionally. She helped, for example, to get his first novel in French published. With time, though, it must have become obvious to both of them that Suzanne's position as companion was somewhat precarious. Under French law, she would not inherit the rights to Beckett's work, or anything else for that matter. There may also have been a further reason for Beckett's decision to marry Suzanne.
The death of friends, or death of every brilliant eye that made a catch in the breath, seem but the clouds of the sky when the horizon fades, or a bird's sleep cry among the deepening shades. Me, to play. I believe this great chessboard might be here to honour the French artist Marcel Duchamp, who was also a champion chess player, and as it happens a friend of Beckett's, though not a close one, though they both shared the reputation as lovers of the great art collector Peggy Guggenheim. Beckett himself would study the chess column in Le Monde, and he and Duchamp would play chess together. Beckett was a great admirer of chess. It even entered his work, most notably as the title of what many consider his greatest play, Endgame. Looking out to France. Speaking of Endgame, the scene that Beckett set for it was on a cliff, with two high windows, one looking out to sea, and the other looking back to land, to a destroyed landscape. Even though written after World War II, 1958, the destroyed landscape evokes the aftermath of World War I. The room that Endgame is set in is a shelter between two worlds. Clove, who has a wooden leg, would climb a tall ladder to look out to the sea, but never see anything. Any connections here is definitely life after art, as far as Folkestone is concerned, rather than art after life, as it was written 3 years before Beckett's arrival in Folkestone.
Like his character Crap, who celebrated his birthdays quietly in the winehouse, Beckett passed the evenings in country pubs, avoiding the more popular drinking establishments. This was a deep-seated habit, born out of his aversion to being approached in an unsolicited way. He savoured pints of draught Guinness, no doubt remembering that his father had wanted him to work for this brewery, rather than take the uncertain path of becoming a writer. Suzanne arrived in Folkestone on the 22nd of March 1961, almost 2 weeks after Beckett. The following day, they sent a jointly signed postcard to their friend, the writer Robert Pinget. 2 days later, on the morning of 25th of March, Beckett and Suzanne married in a simple ceremony conducted by Charles G. Maylard in the registry office of Folkestone. The marriage was registered by D.A.P. Cullen, the registrar of births, deaths and marriages. Indeed, little is more Beckettian than the confluence of these events: birth, death, and marriage.
The light here is as a dental drill, shrill, an instrument of torture. The stage direction in Happy Days is actually blazing light, a maximum of simplicity and symmetry. Beckett was an agnostic at best, yet the King James Bible is the most quoted book in his entire oeuvre. This reaches back to his schooling days in a school founded by King James in 1608, the Pretoria Royal School in Enniskillen, where likely he would have learnt much of the Bible by rote. Endgame opens with the words, "Finished. It's finished. Nearly finished. It must be nearly finished." Jesus, when administered the vinegar, said his last words, "It is finished." John chapter 19, verse 30. All That Fall, his radio play from Psalms 145, line 14. The Lord upholdeth all that fall, and raiseth up all those that be bowed down. Oh, this is a happy day. This will have been another happy day.